Hi everyone, it's Elaine Hamilton here, and I'm super excited today because we have just launched an amazing collaboration book called Reiki Lights, and we'll put the link down in the bottom. And I'm so happy to have with me three of the authors. So I've got Hilary Lee, we've got Karen Taylor, and we've got Niru Soni. So welcome, welcome, welcome to all of you. And what we thought we'd like to do today is just talk a little bit about the different, because everybody that came to the book, so there was 13 authors in all. And the reason why we decided to collaborate on this book was really because I think one of the things that, well, this has definitely been my hobby horse, as you know, but one of the things that has seemed to have happened with Reiki over the years is it's become more and more complementary medicine, something that practitioners do as a foundation, great, but it's not really seen as a deep spiritual journey. And one of the things that all of us, those who collaborated on this book, have really found is that Reiki, when used consistently and over time, actually is a profound spiritual journey. So, what I wanted to do was just have a chat with the authors and give you a little bit more insight into some of the case studies, I think, or personal stories that are in the book, and also some of the tips and tools that we talk about to try and help you, whether you're new to Reiki or whether you are a Reiki practitioner, but maybe haven't thought that it goes that deep, that it gives you some inspiration to maybe carry on and deepen your own journey. So that's the general idea. So we're just going to start off and we're just going to talk to everybody a little bit. And then in the end, we'll talk a little bit, time assuming if we have time for it, around the collaboration process as well. So Niru, I'm going to start with you. So
Right.
when you were kind of writing your story, because it does tend to become quite a reflective piece, right? Where you're trying to think about what to put in the story. Did it surprise you, like when you started to write it and track it all back, how much or how different or how much growth you've had in the Reiki journey so far?
Yes, indeed. In fact, it is a validation of my healing journey, first of all. And secondly, it was kind of empowering as well because all these while we were practicing Reiki and healing and everything and addressing the issues and the darkness and all those shadow work. However, that was like, we're just going on and on and on, but somewhere to have a pause and having this feeling of empowerment, embracing it, that yes, from where I have started and where I have reached now in this healing journey was really truly empowering. And I feel like after that, I'm after writing the book, I feel like a new me emerging in me, uh, with that feeling of that, okay, it was really a darkness I went through, the dark night of the soul. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So do you think that writing the book was kind of cathartic in terms of you could really see where you come from and you could really put some stuff behind you?
To be honest, yes, few parts were because the life was full of chaos and some waves were really painful. And then when I go back and I mean, the wounds are healed, but perhaps the mark of those wounds are there, which remind me quite often that yes, you went through this and it is possible. So I think that is also a part of empowering, that catharsis is there, but then it is in a different form, in an empowering form that now I can empower others if they go through this journey.
Mm. Yes, because you've experienced it, so you know it's possible.
Yes, and I feel the tears are okay. I mean, crying is healing.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a really good point because oftentimes when we go into the spiritual journey and also as teachers, right, afterwards,
Yes,
sometimes we feel we have to all be fixed and healed and everything's perfect, but that's just not the
yeah,
case, is it?
absolutely.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Um,
Thank you.
so Hilary, your life. I guess your career and your work has changed dramatically, almost like a 180, right?
More like it's 270, I think.
270.
A little way to go.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about what you've experienced through your Reiki journey.
Yeah, well, it's quite interesting because I kind of look at it as me really coming back to maybe what I would have been when I was really small, like 3, 4, so almost a 360. So, I'd spent my childhood, I suppose, relying very heavily on my intellect. And I would say I would describe myself pretty left-brained, although I was a very creative person, very sensitive kid. I think the systems, particularly I grew up in the UK in the 70s and 80s. And, being an artist or conjoining your creativity with your left brain, your intellect was, or your academia was not really something that the system really supported. So it was very segregated, I think. I think probably not just the UK. I think we see that all across the world. And now I've lived all across the world, I can see that that's the case in many countries. So, it was really a case of what am I going to do to survive? And very early on, I talk about this in my chapter in the book. Very early on, I sort of squashed my sort of latent creativity, if you like, and squashed that sense of self, that deep part of myself, because it wasn't very useful, and it wasn't going to be very useful to me.
In the system you
In
found yourself in,
in
right?
the system that I found myself in, and but for many reasons, environmental, systemic, depends what your character's like, your sort of personality, also in your sort of just your drive, really, I suppose, to get to where you need to be. I always knew that I was going to leave my town and do something else. I just had this knowledge deep in my soul, which we will call our intuition, our innate wisdom, that I was going to be, this was not going to be me. So I kind of fell into my market research career. Actually, I was working for a small market social research firm in my hometown. My mum was on reception, and she kind of shoehorned me in there because throughout my early childhood, I was like really coming first all the time. By secondary school, I was dyeing my hair kind of orange and purple and all sorts of colours. And I think I took myself out of my grammar school and went off to art college. So I created a little bit of I was in a bit of a mess, I suppose. I've sort of created a bit of a chaotic mess for myself. But now I've learned that that's actually not chaos. That's actually that's the way that it goes, doesn't it? So, my mum, bless her, she said, "Oh, please, please, can you take my daughter on?" I had purple like dreadlocks, and they said, "Yeah." And I kind of worked my way up from the bottom, and I threw myself into things. Anything I do, I try and do it really well. Didn't have an ego about it. I was bright. I'd done my Mensa test. I knew that I was. I'd said to my dad, anyone can go to university. I chose not to, and he also said that he told from the age of 7 he couldn't tell me what to do. So kind of gives a bit of a description of the type of person I was, I suppose. I just sort of barreled into things, and I just chucked myself into things and just sort of saw where it landed. Anyway, long story short, that step actually then took me off to London, and then I stuck my hand up to go to Hong Kong. And the rest is history. So I live in Singapore now. From Hong Kong, came to Singapore. And, my career was ostensibly started in market research, but really it was about brand strategy and helping businesses grow and corporations grow. I think in the early days, in the 80s, there was a lot of growth. It was really exciting. It used a really strong part of my brain and my mind that was intellectually stimulated. I think, by the time jump to 30 years ahead. By the time I started practicing Reiki, and I started becoming jaded with my career, I suppose, in the industry, was really because I felt like the decisions from the corporations were taking were much more short term, very data driven, and less creatively minded, less about a regenerative or sustainable future. And this is before the word sustainable really came into play in the zeitgeist. That's how we used to operate, really.
Yeah.
That's how companies used to grow.
Yeah.
And there was a lot more respect for the local, a lot more respect for what was happening on the ground. And I think by the time that I got to leaving, I'd really just had about not just enough of the industry, but I realized that there was a massive part. I'm just like my head was missing. I was using my left brain and not using my not
So
using my
almost
whole
like you started on a track that seemed to be working quite well for you
yeah
and that creative expression, and then
yeah
slowly there's a squeezing as the world changes into what it is,
yeah.
right?
And
Yeah.
I talk about this, and you came to my exhibition. I had an exhibition recently, which we're going on to in a minute, that I'm now an artist, which you couldn't really get more further from that, I suppose. Very corporate, flying across the world, running big teams, showing up and pitching how companies to grow more through their brands. And my world is just like nothing like that today. And so so Reiki, the heart of the support of Reiki throughout that was, I think, really when I was starting to feel discombobulated, I kind of needed something that is hard to define.
Yeah.
And I'm not a religious person. I would have described myself very much as a left brain kind of skeptic. Actually, somebody gave me a nickname skeptic before. And that's what I was. I presented myself to the world in sort of cynical, slightly sarky. People would have seen me as somebody who was buttoned up, sort of quite knowledgeable about my subject. But actually, that was just a kind of mirage, I suppose, to hide the kind of deep imagination that I have going on under their deep kind of feelings and a deep curiosity. And Reiki really came to me just when I needed that. And I think I would describe it as helping me through that transition from this solid kind of, I trapped myself in my identity. And I think through doing Reiki, it helped me loosen up what I saw of myself. So loosen my ego up, help support me through this real experiment, really, because I stepped away and I said, you know what, all these companies are making left brain decisions now. This is like rubbish for the world. I did start with that kind of lofty big picture and think, well, what happens if we actually open up our whole minds? What happens if we start making decisions with our whole brain? And Ian McGilchrist talks about this brilliantly, about your divided, the hemispheres and how they operate. And that was really the sort of crux of it. It's like, this is an experiment. Life is an experiment, and I need to do this. And it was really clear to me. And I wouldn't have done anything so mad if I didn't have a support system in place. And my support was Reiki.
So you're talking about now that shift from being very corporate into becoming an artist.
Yeah.
And
And so I did not know where it was going.
Yeah.
So
diving into the unknown a little bit, right?
I just swam into it. I leapt off and I thought, you know what, I'm going to trust. I realized that I got deep intuition and I never used it, or I'd just been silencing it. So I decided, what happens if I actually start listening to this? Could be quite fun, scary. But
and the result behind you is the cover of the book.
Yes.
It's amazing. Really, really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll come back
yes.
on to more of that, because I think that it's kind of interesting how, as we're talking, and Karen, you're going to help me bring it more back into the Reiki that we know and love, and probably for most people watching this are probably more familiar with, in terms of the Reiki for health or pain or balance or that kind of thing. But it's interesting that both Niru and Hilary, really, your experience of the holding is almost more from a, dare I say, like a spiritual or higher perspective, or something, right? But Karen, I'm going to move on to you. So there is quite a lot of evidence, really, about how Reiki helps support those in chronic pain and illness. And oftentimes when people go to Reiki, it's because they've got something physically wrong with them, right? Though less and less, but that's often the kind of in point. And I know for you, you've struggled with chronic illness pretty much all your adult life, right? So what's been your experience of using Reiki around that?
Well, yes, I came to Reiki on the exploration of finding something that would help my very painful periods. And, I'd been diagnosed with endometriosis in my mid-20s. And, the doctors, the conventional medicine didn't have any answers.
Mm.
It's just surgery, let's remove it. The pain would come back. So I felt very kind of lost with no answers and no solution. So I went on my own search. And one of the things that I found was Reiki. So a friend did a Reiki session on me. And this wasn't when I had pain, but I felt that incredible feeling of inner peace and connection, which was, incredible, and just led me on that journey to follow it. And then when I did have painful periods, when I did have pain, I placed my hands on. When it was excruciating, maybe not as much, but certainly at a certain level, it provided comfort, support. The pain did lessen. And alongside that actual physical giving hands-on Reiki was the 5 principles of, looking at the mind and where the mind is going in terms of worry and stress, and being able to focus on things like gratitude and kindness and all of those higher vibration emotions. I definitely felt that helped me along the way as well, with the pain, with the stress of having a chronic illness, with being able to also connect to my inner self. So actually being able to know that there's something there. As an expat kid, I didn't really have a home, and I was also searching for that, and realizing with Reiki that, you've got this constant and this home within you always. And that was a huge comfort and connection as well outside of the pain. So I could almost sometimes observe my body more clearly and get insights as to where to go next or what to do.
And you talk about this in your chapter as well, in terms of that insight, in terms of when your mind is calm and when you're not chasing around after the worrying thoughts, then actually you noticed in your body that it really did help as well, right? So it is very, very connected, isn't it?
It's very connected. And I think along this whole long journey is that connection, that mind-body connection, which is no doubt there. Yeah. And with Reiki as well, really did notice that activation of the parasympathetic nervous system, the reduction of the stress and activity there. And that alone, helped me to feel more balanced and calm and be able to cope with it. Yeah.
So do you think, and this is just open to everybody, but do you feel like when you were working on the stories, because this is what's really interesting, right? You get to read everybody else's, and just the three of you as a cross section have had such different kind of entry points into Reiki, as it were. And yet there's a kind of feeling that it somehow held you or supported you, and I know that that's the same when we talk to the others as well who've been part of this book. I don't really know what the question is, but it's almost like what's the kind of thing that you learn, maybe about your part of your own journey, or what were some of the similarities of themes that you noticed that you resonated with?
I just I was so amazed about the different people, the wonderful different people who were going to be a part of this book, all with totally different backgrounds, totally different stories, but that common theme of coming home, feeling connected, connecting to the inner self, which is like the constant. Really felt like Reiki, as it does, just is a connector, a connector to yourself, are connected to everybody else. So yeah, I'd say, that coming home, everyone seemed to
everybody was writing that, right?
yeah, and the inner self connection, that's always there to connect to through many different things.
Yeah.
I think something similarly. So to me, it feels like there was such a big gap, exactly as Karen says about that self connection, but self connection, connection with nature, connection with others. For me, I kind of experienced that as there's this sort of big there's the my environment of consciousness out there that sort of opened up this unified field, and it was my journey to kind of the gap was the lack of alignment with what my consciousness was almost meant to be, with without trying to sound too sort of fate driven, but it really felt like this sort of coming together of inner and outer alignment, and reduce the tension between those two things. And that is what the journey for me still is, and I think that was a common theme throughout all of the stories. We kind of eroded the barriers that we'd put up for ourselves between inner and outer.
Right.
And I think that was really the thing that hit home across the board.
Yeah, because people went through such massive transformation.
And the fact is, we're all meant to be different, and that shows up too. It's like we're not trying to be anything. Nobody was looking aspirationally at an outer, this is the right way to go. Everyone was listening to themselves, and that's such a unique journey. And that's why we come out with so many different people who really put their faith in the idea that actually if we are just more of ourselves, and that's our contribution, that's the way, that's just generally what we have to do in life, is show up and then we become more useful or to ourselves. But maybe that's what life's about. For me, it was always a big picture meaning thing, and I stopped trying to search for that with my brain, with my intellect, and I started feeling it with my body, and I never did that in my entire life before.
Interesting.
And I feel like, everyone's dedication is incredible of this process of rediscovering yourself and aligning to the path which we are supposed to walk. And it's quite, a process of unraveling every moment of our gifts and coming home finally.
Do you recognize yourself, like Hilary was saying, she kind of almost come full circle, like
Yes.
do you feel that how you described the dark night of the soul was almost like a remembering, or was it something else?
Absolutely. It's kind of remembering. I mean, I agree with Hilary as well. Like it's the one full circle. I mean, you're born with the gifts, you were living with your intuitive gifts, or maybe perhaps the moments of coming home. But actually, you go all through the traumas, walking on the dark night and that darkness in the tunnel, and actually, you reach the same point.
And come out the other end, you're like, oh, hang on a minute.
And actually, and you realize, oh yeah, this is actually home, and I remember all that.
Interesting.
That's really interesting, actually, isn't it? Because that's really important. Because I think, and you wouldn't want it to be any other way, right? Because if it's not a struggle or if it's not difficult, then where's the learning? I don't think you get the learning if you don't. I'm not saying it's great for everyone to have a terrible time, but I think we've all that was the Reiki gave me. I felt like I had that support, the courage to kind of dig into some of that and sit with some of that much longer than I would have done previously. I think I would have run away from anything too challenging. And I think without the challenge, it's like, I'm not sure how deep I would have gotten to. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
And this is an interesting question as well. It's almost like, because the way we're talking about it, it's like we do our Reiki and it's such a simple process, right? It's simply putting our hands on our bodies, relaxing, whether you use music, whether you move your hands around, whatever your process is. And also almost for however long it is. One of the things that just seems to happen over and over again is this courage to go deeper. And I'm very curious about that. It's like, why? Like, what? Where does what? Does anyone have any thoughts around that? It's like, why is it we just put our hands on ourselves and we lie down, and every now and again we move our hands around, and then suddenly we have the courage to walk through the dark night of the soul. It's kind of weird, right? I might be going off topic now, but this is my own
What's the
personal interest.
question? What is it all about?
What is this? What are we doing?
What are we doing? I don't know. I mean, I think we all have a different. I think we all have a different stop point as well, don't we? An off switch is like, how far do we, each of us want to go down that
Go.
road?
Yeah.
I know because of the intuitive knowledge, and I really believe in this, the more work I do into it, that sort of almost ancestral DNA coded knowledge in your cells, for me, that is becoming very, very loud. So I don't stop until I've heard the click. So to me, it really is like a,
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to end. That's why I said sort of 270, not 360, because obviously we've changed so much and the choices we make make us different from. But it's that getting back to that essence. For me, that's
Yeah.
I don't even know if that was the question.
Well, I think
answers your
as
question.
you're talking, I'm also realizing, like for all of us as well, it's almost like the deeper we went, the deeper we wanted to go, right? It was almost like, and I think also you realize when you first start doing personal growth, as soon as you hit the first obstacle and it's scary and you have to look at your thoughts and your childhood trauma, and I think the majority of people will back away from that and go, no, I don't want to open Pandora's box.
Mm.
But then for whatever reason, all of us in the book decided, to hell with it, let's open the box.
But isn't it more magical? It's like, I didn't know that life was so incredible.
No. Yeah,
I mean, it's
once
just
you
like,
see it, it's almost like once you open the box and you realize actually it's not as scary as my ego mind is trying to make me believe.
that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not as scary. And
The unknown is amazing.
And it's like Niru said, once you sit there and you sob your guts out for a couple of hours, it's like, oh, well, that's done. Next.
Next. Right.
Yeah, next. And it never ends. Actually, the next is keep on going on. But I think it shows that we are truly dedicated to go deep down into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't always mean that you have to uproot your entire life either, right?
Yes.
Because not all of us went through a huge shift or the whole 360 in terms of the way our lives look. Like some of us, our lives look quite the same almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about kind of changing your perspective, isn't it? Being open to what's in front of you and curious and taking one step towards it rather than letting the mind go, stop, get me out of here, or I want something different, or trying to fight it. It's actually just about going with, really embracing things and going with the flow of what comes up. And all sorts of different things come up, some incredible and magical. And it's like, oh, well, let's have a little look at this. And something else that might be very unexpected and not so wanted, and it's like, well, okay, how can I work with this? How can I embrace it? And just having that practice of Reiki to come back to your center kind of helps that to be a little bit easier on the journey.
Yeah.
And I'd like to say something about that as well, because I think that's entirely right. It's that, the decision making, which kind of brings me back to why I left work in the first place. Your decision making just changes. Your awareness expands. And when you have expanded awareness, you're using all of your mind. Then you make, to me, you make better decisions. Exactly as Karen said, it's not like we have to choose a particular route, but we're all making probably decisions with greater awareness, with a whole brained awareness than we were previously. And I think that was really critical for me.
I also feel like it's reparenting yourself again, now with a different lens, different perspective and awareness.
And being kinder to yourself as well, right?
Exactly. So all through
Accepting,
acceptance, awareness, self-love. It's whole a different modality of reparenting yourself.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, just
Or
free
even
and
not even reparenting, like parenting, because for
Yeah.
many of us, right,
We didn't have
it's like we're still when we first come to Reiki, we're still that inner child, right? We're still like, why is this happening to me? It's not fair. And me. My mummy should have done this. My daddy should have done this. And then
it's funny, but I only got rid of that when I was 50.
I'm still doing it.
I'm still doing it, yeah.
Mummy, daddy didn't do this for me.
Mummy.
So the
But
parent,
then we come back to our center and we
yes, right, just for
we
today.
recruit.
Like, oh no, I'm an adult. How annoying.
How old am I? Oh yes, I'm
that
an
was
adult.
that was quite annoying. I mean, it was a bit disappointing to learn that I was an adult at 55 or
And
something.
no one's going to gallop in with a white knight and just
Yeah,
like sweep all your problems
I
away.
know.
Oh, I
Painful.
love it. I love it. So, okay, we're gonna kind of wrap it up now. And obviously, we have gone, as always, we've just gone off on some tangent as we always do. But I'm hoping that for those of you who are watching, you'll get a little kind of clue as to some of the things that we talk about in the book. And I guess the final kind of thing would be what do each of you feel that you've gained? So what would someone else gain if they actually picked up this book and had a look through it?
I think it's courage to know, because sometimes when we start, we think we're all alone and nobody else goes through this, and poor me, and this is hard. And actually, it shows that it's a universal challenge, isn't it? We're more than ever, the world is fragmented. I think that's partially because we are disconnected. And I hope that people might just pick it up and go, if they're either a skeptic like me before, or somebody who's in the middle and just want to push it further, or just anybody who got that deep knowledge that something's a bit off, that they might just pick it up, and maybe something across all our stories might prompt them to say, you know what, other people have kept going.
Yeah.
And we're alive, and actually probably better than ever. Well, definitely better than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Maybe finding some comfort, that they're not alone. There's other people going through the same things, and there are some, tools and tips and ideas for getting through, for embracing what's going on.
And for me, it would be like, you're not alone and don't give up. There is a light in the end of the tunnel. If I am there, then I think you all can too. Don't give up in the middle of the tunnel.
Brilliant. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for jumping on. And as I said, the Amazon link is in the blurb. And I really hope that you guys will take the time to have a look through it, buy the book, and yeah, keep deepening your own Reiki journey. And hopefully some of the tools and tips, there's a whole bunch of them at the end that we've all contributed to. And hopefully that will also inspire your practice if you're already a Reiki practitioner. And if you're not and you're looking at it, then hopefully this whets your appetite and makes you take the plunge and learn Reiki for yourself. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Big hugs to you all. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.